From Beneil Dariush breaking down just who he thinks will win in the end, to Dustin himself tossing his hat in the ring and giving his 2 cents on the match, here's what the fighters have to say about the rematch between Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje. For starters, Beneil provided an interesting breakdown of interesting Dustin versus Justin. Let's just say he's super pumped about the rematch between the 2 fighters, just like everyone else. He thinks both fighters have made some serious improvements since their first showdown. Gaethje and Poirier, who are ranked number 2 and number 3 in the UFC lightweight rankings, used to hold interim titles, and now have their sights set on the current champ, Islam Makhachev. They're set to clash in the main event of UFC 291, and the winner could be next in line for a title shot. But hey, let's not forget about Dariush himself. He's hoping to secure his own fight with Makhachev by taking on former lightweight champion Charles Oliveira at UFC 289 this weekend. Still, Dariush found some time between training sessions to share his thoughts on the Gaethje vs. Poirier rematch. During an episode of Submission Radio, according to Dariush, Gaethje has made some solid improvements in his footwork and how he applies it. He's become safer, moving his head out of the way and avoiding those intense car crashes he's known for. As for Poirier, his striking fundamentals keep getting better and better. He's got this special ability to see things that others can't, and that's where he shines in the striking department. What's impressive is that Poirier's basics keep improving with each round, making him more solid and causing his opponents to slow down. That's when he takes over the fight and dominates. So yeah, Dariush is hyped about this rematch, and he's got some serious respect for the improvements both Gaethje and Poirier have made. Though, of course, he decided to pick the fighter he's gonna win. And while Dustin and Gaethje faced off in 2018, Poirier was the one who won in the 4th round. Beneil thinks that now Gaethje has what it takes to win the rematch at UFC 291. Dariush thinks that while it's gonna be an awesome fight, regardless of who wins in the end, he personally feels like Gaethje is just a lot hungrier. Beneil pointed to Justin's last fight against Rafael Fiziev, where many people thought Gaethje would lose, but he proved them wrong and showed his true skills. Beneil thinks that version of Justin, the one who showed up in that fight, will be incredibly tough to beat by anyone, even himself. In Justin's last fight at UFC 286, he closed as the underdog against Fiziev, but he put on a veteran performance and won by majority decision. On the other hand, Poirier faced Michael Chandler at UFC 281, and after a back-and-forth battle, he secured a rear-naked choke in the 3rd round. While fans are excited about the main event of UFC 291, Dariush's highly anticipated matchup with Oliveira at UFC 289 promises to be one of the best fights. Originally scheduled for UFC 288, the fight was postponed due to Oliveira's injury. Dariush, who's ranked number 4, will aim to extend his impressive 8-fight winning streak when he takes on the former champion. It's gonna be a showdown you won't want to miss. And guess who else is excited for this iconic fight between Justin and Dustin? Yep, it's none other than Dana White himself. The UFC president thinks the rematch at UFC 291 perfectly represents the spirit of the BMF title. White revealed the matchup during a matchmaking meeting and saw it as an opportunity to bring back the gimmick belt. During the meeting, White and his team recognized the incredible fight potential between Poirier and Gaethje for the Utah card. With Jorge Masvidal retired, they decided to put the BMF title on the line for this fight. The BMF belt was first introduced in the main event of UFC 244 between Masvidal and Nate Diaz in 2019. Now that Masvidal is out of the picture, the belt is back in the spotlight. It's yet to be determined if featuring the belt will become a regular occurrence or remain a rare treat. According to White, many fighters have expressed interest in competing for the BMF title. It's added an element of fun and excitement to the fights, so they will definitely do it again. The original match between Masvidal and Diaz made sense, and now the rematch between Poirier and Gaethje also fits the bill. Whether the belt is on the line or not, everyone wants a shot at it, so why not go for it? But of course, there are tons more fighters who've given their predictions for the fight, like Drew Dober, who's super pumped, and for the rematch, if this fight is anything like their last one, it's gonna be an epic showdown that everyone will love. Dober mentioned that he wants to be like his teammate Justin, so he's rooting for him. Even featherweight contender Brian Ortega was asked to pick between the two, and he also went with Justin. Ortega really admires his fighting style. You've gotta agree that when he steps into the octagon, he really brings his all. Another UFC lightweight, Jalen Turner, also joined the conversation, and like the others, he chose Justin to come out on top. But former lightweight title contender Al Quinta wasn't quite sure who to pick. He acknowledged Poirier's skills, but Justin's performance against Rafael at UFC 286 was really impressive. So Al said that he could see Justin taking the win too. Most of the fighters seem to be favoring Gaethje over Poirier, and that might be because of his recent domination in the octagon. He really put on a show against Adaman. While Poirier hasn't fought since November 2022, even Eddie Alvarez revealed who his top pick is for the fight. The former UFC champ believes that Dustin is the more skilled fighter between him and Gaethje. But there's a catch. Poirier had those huge fights with Conor McGregor that brought in a ton of money, and that might have affected his hunger for the title. That's why Eddie is leaning towards Justin to win at UFC 291. If it wasn't for that and both guys were equally hungry, Poirier would win without a doubt. Alvarez's point makes a lot of sense because the financial stability Poirier has achieved could have made him a bit complacent. Plus, Eddie has faced both of these fighters, so he really knows what he's talking about. But regardless of the outcome, you can expect an all-out war in the octagon. This sentiment is shared by many big names in the MMA world. Even Chael Sonnen says it's gonna be huge. And not just because people want to see it. It's going to have a big impact on the division too. Since Oliveira already lost to Makhachev, these two are next in line for a title shot. Sonnen believes that their first fight didn't settle the business between them. Justin was winning the rounds, but the Diamond showed his resilience and knocked him out. Now, they both want their chance at the lightweight title, so they would have had to face each other anyway. Everyone knew this fight would be huge in terms of the rankings and the guaranteed action. Chael also praised both fighters for never backing down from tough challenges. When he speaks so highly of someone, you know they're special. It seems like everyone is thrilled about this fight, even Poirier, because he's absolutely pumped for the head-on collision. While chatting with Ariel Helwani, Dustin opened up about how these kinds of fights really get him excited and motivated to perform at his best. He's not just fighting because he has to. This is a match he genuinely wanted to take. Fighters like Chandler, McGregor, and Justin give him those nervous butterflies in his stomach, but in a good way. It's that nervous excitement that pushes him to be better and bring out the best version of himself in the octagon. On the other side, Justin is also hyped about the rematch, but this time he plans to be more controlled and measured in his approach. Since their first fight, the highlight has made some changes to his technique, but he still thinks highly of Dustin, and considering he's a phenomenal fighter, he anticipates nothing short of another epic battle. A fight of the century. Dustin acknowledged the adjustments Gaethje has made, especially in his jabs and lateral footwork, but he doesn't expect a different outcome. He seems confident in his abilities and is ready to bring the heat once again. But things could go in either direction this time, especially with the fighters themselves being split in two who they should back. So from Dustin himself tossing his hat in the ring and giving his 2 cents on the match, to Dariush breaking down just who he thinks will win in the end, that was what the fighters had to say about the rematch between Dustin and Justin.